quantum hearts. The quantum displacement was supposed to be routine, just another training exercise for the Time Academy's youngest recruit. But when Alana's temporal coordinates scrambled mid-jump, her neural interface flashing warning signals across her augmented vision, she found herself materializing outside Cafe Pushkin in Moscow. Her thermally adaptive jumpsuit automatically adjusted to the frigid temperature, its chameleon-like surface shifting to mimic contemporary 2024 fashion, accentuating her slender frame and graceful curves. At 18, Alana was already one of the Academy's most promising students, though her youthful appearance often belied her intelligence. Her tall, lithe figure and dancer's build made her movements appear almost ethereal, a quality enhanced by the lingering effects of temporal displacement. Through her neural translator's overlay, the Cyrillic signs transformed into readable text as she oriented herself, her long hair styled by the adaptive camouflage into an elegant arrangement that suited the upscale atmosphere. Inside, her chronometer, disguised as an ordinary wristwatch, continued to flash warnings about timeline instability. The historic cafe was a world unto itself, a perfect temporal pocket where past and present seemed to naturally blend. Dark wooden panels lined the walls, adorned with vintage photographs and antique clocks that seemed to mock her temporal displacement. The aroma of freshly baked serniki and strong Russian coffee mixed with the subtle perfumes of well-dressed women in elegant winter wear, their perfectly manicured hands wrapped around delicate porcelain cups. That's when she saw him. Grusha, a striking figure in his early 30s, positioned near one of the arched windows. His sleek graphene composite wheelchair tucked neatly under a marble-topped table, its advanced design suggesting both function and elegance. He had strong, handsome features, framed by salt and pepper hair that seemed premature for his age, adding to his distinguished appearance. His broad shoulders filled out his charcoal turtleneck well, and his deep brown eyes held an intensity that spoke of a brilliant mind at work. Despite being unable to walk, he carried himself with natural confidence and grace, his movements precise and purposeful as his fingers danced over the quantum-enhanced tablet. At nearby tables, businessmen in expensive suits conducted meetings in hushed tones, their conversations tinged with concerns about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, while a group of university students passionately debated literature in rapid-fire Russian that even Alana's advanced neural translator needed a moment to process. An elderly babushka, in the corner, was feeding her grandson spoonfuls of borscht, her weathered face creasing with joy at each successful bite. A waitress in a traditional black dress with a white apron approached Alana with raised eyebrows, taking in her strange attire. Despite the jumpsuit's adaptive camouflage, there was something about Alana that registered as slightly off to discerning eyes. Perhaps the way light seemed to bend ever so slightly around her tall, slim figure, a side effect of recent temporal displacement. "Odin moment, Pajalista," Alana managed to say, her neural translator perfectly matching the local accent. The waitress nodded politely and moved away. Gathering her courage, Alana approached Grusha's table. Her movement caught his attention, and he looked up, his deep brown eyes widening slightly at her appearance. There was an immediate recognition in his gaze, not of her specifically, but of something different, something out of time. His tablet displayed complex equations about quantum entanglement and temporal stability that made Alana's heart race. They were remarkably close to the foundational theories of time travel. "Is this seat taken?" she asked, gesturing to the empty chair across from him. Not for the next 1,000 years or so, he replied with a slight smile, speaking English with an accent that made her heart flutter unexpectedly. As he adjusted his wheelchair slightly to make room for her, she noticed the fluid grace of his movements, the way his strong hands confidently controlled his chair. "Please sit. Though I must warn you, I'm rather boring company. Just a physicist with too many theories and not enough proof." "What if?" Alana said, sliding into the chair, her chronometer detecting a slight temporal eddy forming around their table. "I told you I could help with that proof." Around them, the cafe hummed with life. The clink of spoons against cups, the murmur of conversations in Russian, the hiss of the espresso machine. Through the window, snow began to fall again, adding to the timeless quality of the moment. Despite the tensions in the wider world, the ongoing conflict, the economic uncertainties, this cafe seemed to exist in its own peaceful bubble of time and space. Over cups of steaming tea and a shared chocolate strawberry pavlova, Alana learned that Grusha had been developing theories about temporal displacement, theories that wouldn't be proven for another 500 years. His eyes lit up as she explained the basics of time travel, his strong hands gesturing expressively as they discussed the complexities of temporal mechanics. The age difference between them seemed to fade away as their minds met on equal intellectual ground. What started as scientific curiosity evolved into something deeper. Grusha's brilliant mind and gentle humour drew Alana back, again and again, despite the Time Academy's strict protocols. She found excuses to make research jumps to 2024 Moscow, and he always seemed to know exactly where and when to find her, his wheelchair positioned perfectly at their favourite table by the window. "You know I can't stay," she told him one evening, as they watched the sunset paint the city's domes in gold, her slender frame perched carefully on the arm of his wheelchair. "The timeline." "The timeline is more flexible than you think," Grusha interrupted, his eyes twinkling as he looked up at her. "I've been running calculations. There are stable loops, fixed points where past and future can safely intersect. We just have to find them." It took months of careful planning, complex equations, and more than a few close calls with the Time Academy's enforcement division. But eventually, they found their loop, a perfect temporal pocket where their love story could exist without threatening the fabric of history. Their physical differences, her youth and his disability, became merely notes in the greater symphony of their connection. In the end, Alana didn't return to 3000 AD. Instead, she and Grusha built a life in their own slice of time, their home filled with a curious blend of future tech and early 21st century charm. She became a scientific consultant at his university, their collaborative research laying the groundwork for the very time travel technology that would eventually bring them together. Sometimes, on quiet evenings, they would sit by their window and watch the snow fall over Moscow. Alana gracefully seated on the arm of Grusha's wheelchair, her slender frame fitting perfectly against his solid presence. They marvelled at how love could transcend not just distance and time, but all physical limitations. Their quantum-entangled hearts had found each other across a millennium, proving that even in a universe governed by strict physical laws, some forces, like love, operated on rules all their own.